According to Assange's own description, WikiLeaks was created from an intersection between a passion for freedom and transparency and an extensive understanding of computer networks. Assange had grown up as a hacker, a story colourfully portrayed in Soulette Dreyfus's book Underground, on which Assange is listed as a researcher and also later revealed as the hacker Mendax featured in the book. Inevitably, these excursions as a young hacker had led to brushes with the law, but also the development of a sense of the global power of the internet. This hacker culture clearly underpins the early incarnations of WikiLeaks. In some early writing of Assange's on his own blog, he explores the concept of power as a network and a conspiracy. His mission in founding WikiLeaks was at least in part aimed at breaking up the strength of the conspiracy. Authoritarian power knows how to strengthen itself through conspiracy, but it came to seem natural to me, logical indeed, that resistance would grow in direct proportion to how much people understood the conspiracy. I'm not talking about conspiracy in the sense of secret, one-off cover-ups, the ramblings of tinfoil hat-wearing weirdos. I'm talking about systemic conspiracy, the habitual modus operandi for governments who prefer to do everything in secret. Information would set us free, and computer science as a form of maths would be our aid in revealing political relationships. Assange then asserts that the power of the conspiracy can be reduced by disrupting information flow and by disrupting and throttling links. A conspiracy sufficiently engaged in this manner is no longer able to comprehend its environment and plan robust action, and this disruption comes in the forms of leaks and transparency. When this power of exploiting network vulnerabilities is combined with political purposes, hacking becomes hacktivism. It is therefore notable that in these essays, Assange also explicitly refers to regime change and the need to replace bad governance. This recognition of bad governance is placed in the context of an encouragement to act against it, asserting that those who witness an unjust act and do not act become a party to that injustice. Thus, the actions of WikiLeaks may be better understood in the context of the great battle for internet freedom, the core preoccupation of hacktivism. In a lengthy essay published in the Monthly magazine in 2011, Robert Mann analyses Julian Assange's motivations through the lens of cypherpunk philosophy. He explains, "At the core of the cypherpunk philosophy was the belief that the great question of politics in the age of the internet was whether the state would strangle individual freedom and privacy through its capacity for electronic surveillance, or whether autonomous individuals would eventually undermine and even destroy the state through their deployment of electronic weapons newly at hand." Of course, both WikiLeaks and Assange have evolved since these early publications, and they may not necessarily reflect Assange's later motivations. However, they are useful in understanding the broad context of the activities and philosophies underpinning WikiLeaks and should therefore be considered. In particular, the strong emphasis on openness and transparency is a fundamental meme of internet pioneers. Therefore, criticisms of its actions may more appropriately be directed at a system that resulted in such massive disclosure of its supposed secrets. In his more recent writings, Assange has been concerned with matters of information and hence power asymmetry, and in particular with the role that encryption can play in redressing this imbalance. In his co-authored book, Cypherpunks, Freedom and the Future of the Internet, Julian Assange makes what he terms a call to cryptographic arms. The world is not sliding, but galloping into a new transnational dystopia. This development has not been properly recognised outside of national security circles. It has been hidden by secrecy, complexity and scale. The internet, our greatest tool of emancipation, has been transformed into the most dangerous facilitator of totalitarianism we have ever seen. The internet is a threat to civilization. It is useful to recall that Assange is writing here pre-Snowden. Noting the argument that WikiLeaks represents a balancing factor in the face of mass government and corporate surveillance, he observes that it is merely a shadow of a shadow in the face of the enormous volume of user data being collected daily by governments and platform providers such as Google, Facebook and Apple. Any belief that a single whistleblowing platform can combat this power is misguided. The only tool useful in this context is encryption, without which the internet will merge global humanity into one giant grid of mass surveillance and mass control. This message is strongly echoed by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, who is the subject of the next module.